So do you need a cash ISA? Is that one of the best options for you in your savings? For a long time, I think people did think this is the place to put your money. And that's because the whole point of an ISA, whether it's a cash ISA or a stocks and shares ISA or a lifetime ISA, whatever it might be, all different ISAs, the big thing about these is any income that you earn from them. So a cash ISA, that's interest that you earn on the balance you have saved, is tax-free. You do not have to pay any tax on that, which is brilliant, okay? Which is thumbs up, fantastic. And that is a big reason why I think people have been using cash ISAs over the years. They've got it into their head, that's where you put it because it's the best place for your money. Historically, over the last decade or two, any money that wasn't in there would be taxed. So let's say you earn £100 in interest and you're a basic rate taxpayer, which means you earn 20%, pay 20% tax, then you would be get to keep 80 quid of that £100, £20 would go to the tax man. So again, makes sense, yeah, put it in an ISA. However, there is a rule that came into play probably like 6 years ago now, something called the personal savings allowance. And this basically means that for most of us, we get to earn interest anywhere outside an ISA, outside premium bonds, which are also tax-free, anywhere, and earn a certain amount of interest before tax is due. And these thresholds, these allowances are actually quite hefty. You know, if you are a basic rate taxpayer, this basically means that you earn less than £50,270 in a year. That's for the next financial year for 2022, 2023, and that's going to stay like that for a while, but it could increase later on, but that's where it is right now. You get a personal savings allowance of £1,000. That's how much interest you can earn in a financial year, April to April, before you have to pay any tax. And the tax will only be due on earnings above that threshold, not the stuff below. So you're absolutely protected for that money that you earn, the interest that you earn below that £1,000. If you are a higher rate taxpayer, so you earn more than £50,270, that personal savings allowance is halved. It goes down to 500 quid. And if you're an additional rate taxpayer, well, sadly, you don't get one. You haven't got one at all. But for most of us, the bulk of us who are higher and basic rate taxpayers, we've got either £500 or £1,000 allowance of interest we can earn in a year. And this is quite a hefty amount of money. It's actually right now very, very, very difficult to go past those levels for most of us. For the amount of savings that most people have or should have, and we'll come back to that, your personal savings allowance is going to be more than enough. Let's have a quick look at this table here. And this table will show you exactly kind of how much you will need to have saved at what rates for you to go over that limit. Just some basic examples here. I've got 0.5%. You need £200,000 saved in an account, earning 0.5% for you to earn more than £1,000 in interest, right? Crazy amounts of money, right? For the higher rate taxpayer, for the £500 one, obviously just half these limits, and you'll get how much you need. At 1%, you need £100,000 saved up. At 1.5%, goes down to £66,666. Go up to 2%, you're looking at £50,000. I've jumped a few levels here. Let's say 5%, then you need £20,000 saved. Anything above that level, that's when you'd start paying tax because you go over that personal savings allowance. And like I said, divide those numbers by 2 if you have the £500 limit. Well, that means for 1.5%, it's £33,333. For 5%, it's £10,000 you have saved. So you might kind of think, actually, you know, if you are a higher rate taxpayer, if you've got the smaller allowance, some of those figures might start to get a little bit more, okay, potentially, this is something I need to be aware of. But for most people who are basic rate taxpayers right now, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, we're not going to be having that amount of money in savings for it to be actually too much of an issue. Even that 5% rate, which is a long way from that actually happening, even that at £20,000 is much more than most people are going to be having in their accounts. Now, right now, interest rates as we speak right now, if you have all your money just in a single account, the best one of these is Chase Bank paying 1.5%. So as I said, that one is a figure of £66,666 or £33,333 before you go past that. Not everyone can open the Chase account if their mobile phone isn't up to scratch, it's an older phone. Then maybe they're looking at around 1%, 1.1% of the next best one. And again, you're kind of getting really, really high figures there. So for now, right now, on this basis, you do not need a cash ISA. Okay, very, very simply, go where the best rate is. It could be a cash ISA, okay? It could be the best place for your money if it's the highest rate. But if it's not, then put your money wherever you're going to get the best account. Obviously, there are other things you might want to take into account, like access and ethics and things like that. But broadly speaking, the highest rate is going to win. Now, it is possible to actually get more than 1.5% right now in a mix of different accounts. But as I show you in this table, it still doesn't make too much of a difference to your overall balances. Now, you might have a slightly different setup to this. If you've been watching my regular savings updates, you might have done some of these. You might have more, you might have less. But this is kind of a broad idea of what you might have elsewhere. The Virgin Money M Plus current account, really good one to have as your emergency fund. Get 2.02% on £1,000. It's also a debit card stuff, so nice and easy to access it. You've got branches you might need to go into if you need to. Big fan of that. You're going to earn 20 quid from that over a year. There is the potential that if you switched into that, you get 5.02% for the first year. So just bear that in mind. You might be getting a little bit more. You also maybe have more than one of these. That loophole's been closed, but sometimes people have more than one of these, maybe quite a few of these. Obviously, the more of those you have, the quicker it's going to be for you to get to that personal savings allowance. But I'm going to assume you've got one of these. You might have the Claro app. That pays 2% as well on up to £3,000. The NatWest Digital Regular Saver. You can put 150 quid into this every month, but for the purpose of this example, I'm assuming you open this up when it first came along and you put your money into it every single month, that you're actually now earning you've got £1,000 in there. The max you can earn the 3.04% on. Obviously, you might have less than that in there. And there's a new nationwide flex regular saver that's been around for the last couple of months. That pays 2.5%. Most you can put in there is £200 a month. I'm going to assume that's £200 from your salary that you're putting straight into savings every single month. That will give you a total balance of £7,400 and a total interest of £142.50. That is so far off those limits we've already discussed. And if you top it up beyond that with that 1.5% paying Chase account, it doesn't really make too much difference to your overall limit that you'll need. It works out roughly 63, 64k if you are a basic rate taxpayer in total with that money and the money in Chase before you get £1,000. And if you are a higher rate taxpayer with a £500 PSA, you're looking around 30, 32k, again, with those combination of accounts and the Chase one. So still really, really decent amounts of money. And this will come back to what I said before about most people either won't have that amount in savings or shouldn't have that amount in savings. Because this is really, really important here. The general rule of thumb that it is good guidance on how much you should have available in cash is how much you would need to cover 3 to 6 months of emergencies. So it's covering your bills, your mortgage, whatever it might be, buying food. If you couldn't work for whatever reason, your income went, you could at least cover 3 to 6 months, which in normal times, obviously the pandemic does change things here, has changed things, but it might give you enough time to get back on your feet, find a new job, or if you're ill, get better so you can work again and earn money again. That's generally the kind of the thought on how much you want there. You might want to have more than that. If you're a freelancer and the income is a bit unpredictable, you might want to sort of have enough that stretches much, much further into the future, so you at least know that that money is there in case you can't work at all and no money is coming in. You might also want to have some additional savings on top of that for something that you're saving for specifically. So a deposit for your home, a car, redoing your kitchen, your holiday, your home this summer, whatever it might be, big or small, have money available to you that you can put aside in there. So that might increase the size of your pot as well. But still, unless you have something really, really, really expensive like the house or something like that, I still think we're going to be well below those figures of sort of 30 to 60k that we've talked about, depending on what allowance you've got. So really, if you have excess money beyond those amounts, that could take you above that PSA as well. It doesn't really matter where you put it because ISA or cash savings aren't the best places. You should be looking at putting more into your pension, maybe investing longer term, 5 years or more. Investing is a good option here. It could well be that you want to overpay on your mortgage. They are much, much better options most of the time than having it in cash savings because you are losing money in real terms versus inflation. You're going to get a much better return elsewhere. And the other reason you might not want to put money into an ISA is that £20,000 limit, because this money is across all the different types of ISA that you might have. So not just a cash ISA, but a lifetime ISA, stocks and shares ISA, innovative finance ISA, but let's ignore that. That's not so important. If you put 20k in a cash ISA saving, you can't put any money into those other areas. And you might want to be doing that. If you have got enough money to invest, it makes more sense for that to be sitting in the ISA because it's there for a much, much longer term than the cash savings where the rates are much more competitive elsewhere. Yes, you do get a capital gains allowance outside for general investment accounts, which probably for a lot of people won't make too much difference between the two, works in a similar way. But I would absolutely prioritize investing lifetime ISAs funds over cash ISA funds, at least for the moment as things stand. Now saying that, if you are dead set on putting your money in cash savings and you've got enough that goes over the PSA, and perhaps that's because you've got a pay increase. So maybe you've jumped up from a basic rate taxpayer to a higher rate taxpayer. Perhaps interest rates do suddenly shoot up. Perhaps the government turns around and says we're going to reduce the personal savings allowance or scrap it completely. Well, what do you do then? Well, if the ISA is offering a competitive rate, then that is really it is a good option. But have a look at that interest rate, because even if you're getting taxed, it might still be better to have that money in an account that pays more than the ISA. So 1.5% right now with Chase. If you get taxed 20% on earnings above your personal savings allowance, that effectively gives you a rate of 1.2% on that money, on that portion of cash. But if you best ISA right now, Easy Access Cash ISA is 0.9%. So you'll be better off having it still in the Chase Bank, being taxed on it, because you're still going to get more interest overall. Slightly different though if you're a higher rate taxpayer, because 40% of 1.5% brings it down to 0.9%, which is the same as the cash ISA right now. In which case, I'd probably go for the cash ISA because it ring fences it and it makes it a little bit safer for you for the future. It gives you a bit more protection. And you can always withdraw the money from the ISA if you want to. If you are going to do that, I would say make sure you've got a flexible ISA, because that means you can pay the money back in if you decide to, and it doesn't impact your allowance over the year, that 20k allowance. My name is Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think of cash ISAs. Do you use them or have you ditched them completely? And here are some more videos on savings.